Good evening.
Good evening, Father.
And we all thought that spring was here. I guess we're beginning this Lenten season with a dusting of snow surrounding us. Now it seems to me that Lent always kind of sneaks up on us, doesn't it? It always is too early, and we are not quite sure if we are ready for the 40 days of Lent. But it is here, and the truth is that anytime is good for us to pause, to examine our lives, to maybe see what needs to change or be improved. Any time is good. But here the church gives us the season of Lent to do precisely that. Now, on Ash Wednesday, we have suggested that the question, what to give up for Lent or what to do for Lent, should not be the first question to ask. It should be the last question to ask. And we suggested that, or mentioned that Father James Keenan, who is a Jesuit priest, and he teaches ethics and moral theology at Boston College, and he argues in his books and in his talks that in order for us to grow in anything, our personal life, our spiritual life, our professional life, we always need to take time to ask these three questions. And the question number one is, where are you right now? How are you doing? How are things going? Now, once I answer that question, honestly, then I ask myself the second question. Where do I want to be? Or hope to be? Or where is God calling me to be? That's question number two. And now question number three is, how do I get from where I am to where I desire and hope to be? And it works in any areas of our lives. How do I get there? What am I supposed to do? What should I do? What is the right thing to do? And we said that only when you answer the first question and the second question, only then we are in the position to answer the last question. How do I get there? And that's where the question of what to do for Lent or not to do for Lent comes in, doesn't it? Now, of course, we all have a choice in life with respect to decisions we make. And you probably would agree with me that sometimes we all make bad decisions. Would you agree? I know I have made bad decisions in my life. It is just a human thing to do for a variety of reasons. And some of those bad decisions that we make are not that significant. Like, for instance, you decide to dye your hair pink, you look at the mirror and you say, that was a bad decision. I mean, that does not impact your life in a major way or the life of others. But other bad decisions actually may. Now, I mention this because the story of Adam and Eve in the book of Genesis that we just heard reminds us that the human tendency to make bad decisions has actually existed from the very beginning. Now, we all know the story. There is a tree of good and evil in the middle of the garden. Adam and Eve can eat from any tree except that one. The serpent enters and makes the case against God and says, "You will be fine, you will not die, do not listen to God." Now, the first human beings have a choice, to eat or not to eat. That is the question. It is a decision point for them. What are they going to do? Now, the book of Genesis gives us the answer to what the decision is. The woman saw that the tree was good for food, pleasing to the eyes and desirable for gaining wisdom. So she took some of its fruit and ate it. And she also gave some to her husband, who was with her, and he ate it as well. Now we know at the end of the day, it was a bad decision. And there were consequences. They are expelled from the garden. They wanted to be like God. Now, in the gospel, we see the opposite, don't we? Jesus is not in the garden. Jesus is in the desert. So there is a change of location. But like Adam and Eve, he is tempted as well. And not once, but 3 times. It is a decision point for him as well. He has to decide. And 3 times, unlike Adam and Eve, he makes the right decision. The first temptation, he is hungry, and the tempter comes to him and says, "If you are the Son of God, turn these stones into loaves of bread." Now Jesus has to decide, and he responds, "It is written, one does not live on bread alone, but on every word that comes from the mouth of God." Jesus makes the right decision. The first temptation and the first decision. Now, in the second temptation, the tempter comes to Jesus and says, "If you are the Son of God, throw yourself off the parapet of the temple, and for sure God will save you." Now Jesus has to make a decision. And he says, again, it is written, "You shall not put the Lord God to the test." Jesus makes the right decision again. The second temptation and the second decision. Now, in the third temptation, the tempter takes him to a high mountain and shows him all the kingdoms of the earth and says, "If you worship me, if you bow before me, if you prostrate before me, I will give you all these kingdoms to rule over." Jesus now has to make a decision. And what is the right decision? He says, "It is written, the Lord your God shall you worship, and him alone shall you serve." Jesus makes the right decision for the third time. Now, so what we see here is 3 temptations and 3 right decisions. Now, the temptations that Jesus faced are the same Adam and Eve faced, the same the people of Israel faced, the same that we face. And the underlying temptation is this: to stop depending on God and to trust only in yourself. To stop depending on God and to trust only in yourself. Now notice that the story of humankind begins with the temptation. And the story of Jesus' ministry also begins with temptation. Now the difference is of no little consequence. Jesus is the opposite to the first human beings. He makes the right decision each and every time. Now, was it easy? By no means. Matthew tells us this, and that's what's striking about this story. Then the devil left him, and behold, angels came and ministered to him. Now you get a sense that Jesus has been really tested. He is exhausted. It was tough. It took a lot out of him. So much, in fact, that angels had to come and minister to him and comfort him. That's what it took. It was not easy. It was a struggle. Right decisions are not easy. You know, how often the right decision is not what you initially wanted to do, and now there's a struggle. Or the right decision will challenge you to not think as much about yourself or what you want, but about what others want and what is good for them. And that can be a struggle. The right decision will lead you to the realization that life is not about living on bread alone, that life is not about simply material things, money, or what I have or what I do not have, that there's actually more to life, and I'm gonna make my decision based on that. The right decision may challenge you and me to let go of power and control, or desire to rule over other people. I don't know about you, that can be challenging, to let go of power and control. And there's a struggle. Right decisions most of the time are not that easy. Jesus reminds us they can be very challenging. But nonetheless, that's the invitation, isn't it? So as we continue this journey through Lent, we invite you to continue to ask these three questions. Where are you right now? How are you doing? Where do you want to be? And how can you get there? And nobody can answer those questions for you. Only you and I, we can answer those questions for ourselves. And how am I gonna get there where God is calling me? What is the right decision? What needs to be done? See, Jesus, that's the final point, invites us not to make any decisions or convenient decisions or simply what I want matters decisions. Jesus invites us to always strive to seek the right decision. To always try to find the right decision, even if it's challenging, even if it's difficult, even if it may cost me something, to always seek what is right.